I think it really started to make sense or sink its roots in when I was a junior in high school. Not only how to take a picture, but how to find meaning or how to bring life to an image. It was an opportunity for me to express myself in ways that felt comfortable and natural to me. I felt more sense of belonging or more sense of self-worth. Like I had a stronger sense of what was beautiful. Things aren't so uniform. It was more like, this is your open canvas. Do with it as you will. You know, you show me your voice. There comes this moment when you're taking pictures, you fall into this sense of flow. The subject and the environment and the lighting is just right, and everything kind of comes to a precipice. And in that moment, you're directly connected with the subject, whether that be a person or a landscape or a musical artist. One moment can exist in an infinite amount of ways depending on who's experiencing it. And what photography allows is this idea of interpretation rather than translation, right? So how do you interpret that message or emotion? For me, establishing some kind of purpose behind what I'm doing as a photographer is paramount. Once I transitioned my mindset into kind of creating a photograph or creating a moment, that was really, for me, where photography kind of hit a chord from within. You can only do so much taking, right? You also have to learn to facilitate giving. If we have a world full of takers, everything will reach depletion. But if we have a world full of seeders or developers where people are constantly inputting or giving, there's this spark or vibe that's kind of passed from person to person. And ultimately, I think the world's going to be more lush. Why did you run into that person? Why were you drawn to that stage? Why were you drawn to this music or this piece of art? You're giving off vibes and people are feeling into that, and you kind of like start to form your little sphere, and people start kind of accumulating into that sphere. And I think that there's strength in that connection. Its ability to kind of like stick people together, I think, is what's really cool about going to these festivals. As Ansel Adams always said, you make a photo, you don't take it. I like this idea because it implied then that you weren't just removing something from the sphere or the space, but you were creating it or crafting it. And in that way, you had the ability to insert something into it, to establish meaning behind what you were doing. He was largely responsible for why we have protected wild places, why we have the national park system. Because he went out and captured these transportive images that landed on people's living room coffee tables in Life magazine. And for the first time, people were experiencing parts of the United States that they'd never seen before. And that was a huge catalyst to the establishment of the national park system, along with John Muir and Teddy Roosevelt, and later on, the establishment of the Sierra Club and all these other protective agencies. And so his photographs really had meaning, right? They had purpose, and they achieved their purpose. I'm definitely going to end up as an old man with tons of stories, and that's all I want to do. Like when I'm an old guy, I just want to sit back in a rocking chair with a glass of sweet tea spiked with bourbon, telling a bunch of grandkids about how it was back in the day. And I want to be able to paint that picture with tons of stories and illustrations. I keep coming back to Electric Forest because there's something each year that I think is a leaf that hasn't been unturned. Electric Forest for me represents an opportunity to create magic, and a community that's open to that magic. No matter how much I want to stay as a fly on the wall, or no matter how strong my intention is to be there to document the experience, there are no observers. They're only participants. This is connection. This is what it means to feel human connectedness. Maybe your entire career is eclipsed by one moment, and maybe that one moment exists for 10 years, or maybe that one moment exists for 1/25th of a second. Maybe photography plays a backseat role in my life in general, and maybe it's really just about the way that I talk about it, or maybe it's about the stories that I share around it. Maybe even though I'm a photographer, the stories that have more meaning are the ones that exist around the photograph.